everybody. It's me, Dee from Fire Within Coaching. Thank you for coming to another episode of What Lights Your Fire. Today, we have a very special guest. She's close to my heart because she takes care of kids and makes sure that kids stay safe. Tabatha Barron. Hey, how are you doing?
Okay, how are you?
Good.
Dee.
I am really happy to have you here. I know that you and I discussed the work that you do, and I personally was blown away. I have a 16-year-old and I also have a 12-year-old. So keeping them safe is definitely something that's always on my mind. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your company and about the work you do?
Sure. Okay, thanks. So keeping your kids safe was inspired through my niece, because when she was put on the wrong school bus twice in the same school year as a 5-year-old, I realized that there was a problem and there was a need for support. I developed a platform that allows each child to effectively communicate their way home. You as a parent will get a text message, and that includes the people that you want to have on this list. And the administrators will get an instantaneous notification letting them know whether or not they're sending that kiddo in the right direction or the wrong direction. Here's the deal. I think for all of this, a lot of people, and I've spoken to some principals here recently, and they were like, it feels as though we're going to have to do more work. But after talking to you, we realized that we don't have to do any more work. And I was like, exactly. And then two, I'm not trying to blame, right? So a couple of the principals are like, no, I don't have this problem, but that's not true. And the thing about it is that I'm not here to point the finger. I don't want to point the finger. I'm not interested in saying, oh, you did it.
No,
I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
I'm interested in saying, here's the thing. I am a parent. So my example is the example I want my children to be able to look at and be, one, proud of, and two, able to emulate. And we can't do that if we're so fearful of the mistakes that we make along the way. So that's how I look at it. So when I look at principals and they say, no, we don't have this problem, how dare you say this to me? My question then becomes, so who are you protecting, yourself or your students? Because when it comes down to it, your students are counting on you to show them what true sportsmanship looks like, what true relationships look like, what accepting responsibility for the mistake we've made, what that looks like, and then how we're able to navigate that successfully. And until we decide we want to do that, guess what happens? Nothing. We're in the same identical boat and problem. So that's where I am with that. And so I actually help 100% of the school population. So the reason why I talk about leaving the building is because your walk-ins and bikers are making decisions that parents are unaware of. Your car riders, I've seen them try to shove a kid in a number of times, multiple campuses, shove a kid in a car that didn't belong to them. Or a childcare bus rider where the child wants to ride that fun looking bus because it's awesome and all their friends are talking about it, and they want to get in that line. And so they make that decision to go and visit without your knowledge. Those are the things I'm really trying to work and help communicate amongst the two groups who are actually helping to massage that child into adulthood. And then my child advocacy is just that. I'm an advocate for a kid. At the end of the day, we talked about it on Friday. One, that 11-year-old that got shot for calling for help. Children have to feel safe somewhere, but they don't feel safe. It just seems to me that they're not feeling safe anywhere. They're afraid to go to school because they don't know what's going to happen. Now they're afraid to go home because they don't know what's happening. And then they can't call the police because they don't know that now they're going to be perceived as the person to do harm to. And then I get it, we're busy,
right? But
busy should not be enough for us to leave our kids in the backseat of a hot car and die. So so when I talk about advocacy, KICS or keeping your kids safe became more of an advocacy role for me. It gave me the ability to go in and talk about the things that people aren't talking about, and then highlight some of those things, as well as working towards making sure every student goes home the assigned way from their families.
Oh my gosh, that was a lot. I can't even begin to say how much I love this, because I've been that kid riding my bike home and then decided, you know what, I think I'm just going to go here instead of going straight home. So I get what you're saying. They're just making that decision. It is scary in this day and age to send your kid to school and to not know, and to think, oh, somebody could snap and come and shoot my kid, or there's sex trafficking and they target and they groom, and it's scary world to be a kid and to be a parent.
Yeah. Yes, because yeah, that's true. But here's the thing. Remember, so when we were growing up, when I was growing up, and I hate when we were growing up, we always hear when I was young,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah,
Back
blah.
in my day.
Okay. Not yeah. But the thing about it is I'm not going to tell you that I walked a mile in snow and rain and blood. I'm not telling you that. What I'm saying is that when I was growing up, I think that there was more of a village around us.
Yes.
And right now, it seems as though we're burning the village down. We made a conscious decision to literally not involve other people in our community to actually support our children. And that I feel it has been a great disservice to our children growing up. And you can actually see they don't have the connection to humanity as we need. Because otherwise, maybe it wouldn't be so easy to discard a human as we have gotten so used to seeing, right?
I think like you just opened a can of worms there, and I'm like, do we shut it or do we just blow it wide open?
Sometimes you got to blow it wide open because that's what, look, I'll tell you, most people who met me know I'm just about smacking a beehive along the way. Just smack the beehive so that we can let the bees out and have conversation. Because those conversations are being held in secret and nobody's ever learning about them. So the thing about it is, so this is weird, but when was it NWA that came out with F the police, right? Everybody's so upset.
Yeah.
Dare you? Yeah. But nobody ever asked them why. And now the rest of the country is learning why that was such a thing to say. Now, am I condoning that? Absolutely not. That is not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that there are things that we all do for a reason. And police brutality was a problem for them, and nobody was talking about it. So they uncovered it. And on top of that, Rodney King was beaten. And so when we had those two pieces together, a change started to happen. So now we move fast forward and we go to Columbine and we see that mass shooting and everything that happened around that.
Yeah.
And we noticed that there was a problem there. And yet no one really wanted to talk about it. Everybody wanted to brush it under the rug. And what happens is you teach them that, first of all, you could be internet famous for a short period of time because all you need is 15 minutes and you are in history for life.
That's so
dangerous.
dangerous.
And then think about that. So think about what we're to see. So the things and the actions that we take as adults actually help to shape the mind and thoughts and journey of the children who are watching. Yeah. So when I look at the situation and I seen Columbine, I was like, we should be doing something, and quickly. My very first thought as a parent, my very first thought as a human, we have to do something now. But very little got done. It was a one-off situation, things like that. Now look where we are. We haven't made it into halfway through the year, and we have more mass shootings than we have days that we've gone through. Now, if you think about that by itself, think about how we got here in this place. What have we taught them to do? We need as many likes as possible. We need people to know our name. Yeah. This is how people get famous and make money. Yeah. This is what we're doing. And the real consequences do not outweigh the temporary fame that I'm seeking as a child. And so that's what we're doing. If you're looking for safety, now you see where there's schools, the grocery store, the parks, there's no place a child can turn and still be safe. And now the internet. So when I look at child safety as a whole, I'm looking at it as 100% a child. What fills up that child? What makes that child okay? Social emotional learning, safety in all measures, being able to have a conversation, mental health, special needs, all of that. We all need to band together and wrap our arms around our children and figure out where the gaps are and fill them up with the appropriate filler, with the information that they're missing, the love that they need, the respect and understanding, all of that and wrap that up and onto them so that they can go out and they can build a future that we will be proud to sit back in our rockers,
Yeah.
because that's where we're going to be, in our rockers.
Oh yeah, rock. Yep.
And rocking away. And we're watching them build the game.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're out there making decisions and working together and being inclusive and doing all those great things. Come on now. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Because my generation wasn't able to do it, but I've been rallying for this for a long period of time. Kids need to know that they're not expendable. And right now, I don't necessarily know that's the message that we're sending them. And that is the reason that's what keeps getting me up every morning to go out and rally and send out the rally call again to do the same thing over again.
Yeah, so I feel what you're saying. When I was first starting, I had worked with someone who he worked with like sex trafficking victims. And one thing that I noticed is the risk factors. It only takes a few minutes to abduct somebody. And it could be anybody. It could be a parent. It could be an uncle. It could be a bus driver, whoever. Why is it that we don't educate our children and our parents through the school system on something like this? From the time that they get out of school and walk to another area, they could be abducted during that time. Individuals who are lower income, who have family issues, like all of those are our risk factors and make them more susceptible to that. So how do we avoid that?
The fact that there are certain things that have been removed from the schools, and we've been fighting so long to keep those things actively in schools without success, right? The wrong people are making the decisions about our curriculum, to be honest. From a curriculum standpoint, there are absolutely things that are life skills that are necessary to learn. And then there are academic life skills that are necessary to learn. And then there's just the academics, right? And I think that what's happening is that the academics are being taught, but the academics, as far as life skills are concerned, partially taught, because that would include financial literacy, being able to manage what does home look like. And then the life skills are primarily the responsibility supposed to be of the home, but our homes are broken. So how do you teach your child life skills when the children come home to an empty home or to a broken home or to no food in the refrigerator? So how do you teach them those life skills if they're struggling with something no one's willing to have a discussion about, right?
Exactly.
So that's it. It's like we figure there's a shortcut. So you ever see on the map, when you look at Google and you're like, I want to go to Dallas, Google gives me 3 routes. And one of them is a flight. And a flight is normally 50 minutes. So it's a 4-hour drive, but it's a 50-minute flight. I think it looks as though we're taking the flight instead of taking the 4-hour class. And so that, I think, is the discrepancy in our curriculum. That 4-hour drive is how they learn how to be there when they get there. So there is no shortcut to that type of success. And right now we are steadily teaching our children that it's okay to take the shortcut, but all of the other extras are missing. How to behave, how to engage, how to build rapport, how to communicate. There's all these pieces that they miss because all of that. And that, I do believe, is a disconnect in the curriculum and why we don't talk about it. And then too, we don't teach good sportsmanlike conduct.
Yeah, I can see that.
Education is a team sport. Education is a team sport. It is not meant to be a singular group of people doing this one action. It is a group activity. It's just that simple. If home is doing what they're supposed to do and school is doing what they're supposed to do and they're talking to one another, guess what we have? We have some really solid individuals who grow up to be very solid individuals as adults with a whole lot of integrity and a whole lot of empathy and a whole lot of humility, right?
Yeah.
You don't have home doing what they're supposed to do, and you have school partially doing what they're supposed to do. You notice that both hands are not out at the same time. So therefore, there's no way for them to talk to one another. So
Right.
how do you help that child know that to his left he has support, to his right he has
Right.
support?
Yeah. Oh, I'm just, yeah, as you're talking, I'm like, wow, there are so many kids out there that they don't have that. They're not protected. And I feel like sometimes if you have a child that acting out, it's quick to say, oh, they have this or they have that. But have a conversation with the child. It's always something deeper. And I think when we stop asking those questions, that's when the issue happens, is because we don't want to talk about it. It's something we don't want to think about. We put our blinders on. But the fizz is you can't keep those up. You have to take your blinders down and fight for what you believe in. You don't have to be a parent to protect kids. And you don't have to be a teacher to protect kids. If you're out in public and you see something that's not right, protect kids, protect someone. If you really look at the world without your blinders, you will see so many opportunities for improvement to help not only our kids, but to help the world.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Do you know? Yes, because I'm like, come on now. We can all pitch in and do this. There's too many of us to not be able to do something, right? And so when you look at it, let's just think about this. If we could solve some of the problems that different people are talking about, they would still be in position. Teachers are leaving. I'm talking mass exodus out of education like nobody's business. And some of them are very vocal about why they're leaving. I was very surprised at some of the responses I got back. But of course, I will never reveal what the heck is truly going on because it's not my business. It's not my story to tell. But I do know that, whoa, is what I got. Because I was like, are you serious? Yes. But here's the thing. Everybody's teachers are asking for more money. You're not, and we're not asking why. Teachers are not asking for more money because they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to get wealthy and rich off of being a teacher. That is not why they do it. Because I asked a couple people, I said, why did you become a teacher? First of all, the one lady I asked why she became a teacher, I was like, she shouldn't have been. She shouldn't have been a teacher. So there are some people out there, and I believe that good teachers and bad teachers both offer a lesson. It doesn't matter if you're a great teacher. It doesn't matter if you're a bad teacher. You're still offering a lesson. And if people are to take that class, they're going to learn the lesson. So it doesn't matter. I never knock anybody for teaching what they're teaching or what they're doing. You know why? Because regardless of the situation, you're still going to learn. You go to a bad job, you learn from that bad job. You learn what to look for, what not to do, what you want and what you don't want. Period. So if you look at everything like this was a horrible situation and I hated it. Everything about this is bad. But what was it about that experience that you learned from? Because that's what's most important. So then we come back over to the teachers. That teacher was not a good teacher, and she didn't have the right energy to teach students, right? But at the same time, this was her passion. That's what she wanted to do. Is she asking for more money because she's a great teacher? No, she's asking for more money because you're asking for more from her.
There you go.
So no one's doing anything for free. Okay. No child is doing anything for free. He goes to school because he has to. He goes to school because the goal is that he has to be in school. He or she has to be in school in order for them to actually achieve the goal of their desire, not of anyone else's, of their desire. So it doesn't matter how much a parent wants you to have an A. If you do not want an A, guess what's not going to happen? You're not going to get an A. But the teachers are not asking for more money because they said, you're not giving me enough. They're saying that you are adding more tasks to me and taking money away from me at the same time. So you're saying that my time, so I've given you 8 or 9 hours a day, and now you need an additional hour from me, but you're not willing to give me compensation for that additional hour you're asking of me, and then turning around. So then you're taking that money away. So instead of it being a $20 an hour job, it's now turned into an 18 an hour job. $18 an hour job, and I can do it.
I believe in you.
Let me work on that. My math skills. So your $18 an hour job, now because you had an additional hour added to your day, which wasn't there before. That's why they're complaining about that, right? When we start to ask the question why people are in these certain situations, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I've been through 18 years of dealing with different types of engineers. I'm an engineer myself, different companies, different spaces, and each one of them taught me something new. And every single one of them, I wouldn't change. I would change the outcome probably of the last one. The outcome needed to be better than what happened. I just felt so defeated that I just walked away. That is not the best thing to do, but at the same time, that was the best thing for me to do at that time.
At that time, yeah.
I really wish I could have gone about it a different way, but it just didn't work out that way. But I learned so much from that. And I've grown as a person because of that circle of that situation, not because they were a great teacher, because they were awful teachers.
Yeah.
It was the fact that I had to learn something in order for me to grow and get to the best place that I could be, so I can thrive in my life. And that's all I want for children. And so teachers need more money. Actually, we just need to balance out their workload and then appreciate them. They're not leaving the space because they want to leave the space. They're leaving the space because they have no option. And then everybody wants to blame the teacher for what the student is not picking up. That too is a problem for me, because in all actuality, so education is one of those areas where when I start talking about it, it's just so frustrating. And there's so many different points that have to be made through it. The thing about that part is that you have to teach kids what they don't know and what they don't understand, but you have to be willing to admit that you don't have all the answers. But you put them on a journey that they can find themselves, not find you, find you.
Yes.
Why are we looking for you? We already know who you are. We just need to know who they're going to become, so we can fill their tank in order to get them to where they need to be. And that's where education is missing, because everybody wants to point the finger. This is a collective responsibility. This is not one person or the other. It is collectively or all of our responsibilities to educate these students, educate these children, so that they can be healthy individuals, so we can stand side by side with them as adults and be proud to stand in that line with them. Instead of, oh my gosh, what are you about to do to me?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And I do want to mention something, because when you point your finger to someone, you have three pointing back at you. So I think that's a lesson as well, is it's always, what can you do to help whoever you want to help? What can you do? Because you can't make the school system do something. You can do something and show that example, and you can rally with people that have that same mindset. Going back to the village concept, you need a village. Like, you need a village to raise a child. You do, because parenting is really hard work, and some parents don't like asking for help. I know I was one of them for a while. I don't want to ask for help. I could do it myself. But the reality of the situation is, we all need to help our children. We all need to do what's right. Whether you have children, you might not have children. Are you an aunt? Are you an uncle? Are you someone's kid? There's a lot of different ways that you can look at it to help. See, now you're getting me all fired up.
Exactly. And that's what needs to happen, right? Because you need to go out. This is what I will say. All the parents and all the people who watch this, and even yourself, when you get riled up and you are like, wait, my kid deserves to feel safe, regardless of where they are. Yes, my kid deserves to have that. Get riled up and call a friend, and have them call a friend, because at that point, now you're starting to build back the village that's going to help support you in getting your kid. If I'm not strong at math, guess where I'm sending them? To my friend who's strong in math.
Exactly.
If the school's not doing it, you have to do it. Here's my example. My son is on a spectrum. Okay. And we going through school, and then early on, when his diagnosis first came out and everything, I was struggling, not struggling to accept, just struggling to figure out what the heck, how am I supposed to do this? Exactly. It is very challenging. I remember going to school and I remember having a conversation with them. He's in these classes, he's been in school since he was 3, right? And so at age 4 and 5, I'm into school and I'm saying, okay, so what are you guys teaching him? What do we need to know? And she's showing me all this list of things he's doing. And I was like, okay, he's having a hard time holding a pencil. And they were like, oh, you can just do hand over hand. And I was like, explain. And so she showed me what hand over hand is. And I was like, is that supposed to be lifetime? I'm not doing that. Where are you teaching them how to hold this pencil? No, we're teaching them only gross motor skills. And I was like, okay, help me understand what are gross motor skills? Because at this point, I want you to talk to me like I'm 5, because I need to understand where you are.
Yeah.
And not trying to be funny or disrespectful. I'm trying to understand where you are. What are gross motor skills? Kicking a ball, running, things like that. And I was like, where is that applied in academics? That's where I was like, what the heck? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
So there was never a plan. Never. When I tell you, never a plan to teach him how to hold his pencil, I was appalled.
Yeah.
So what I did, I was like, okay, tell me all the things you're not going to teach him so I can go home and develop a system that I can teach him. So I went home and that pencil thing is extremely important because he'll have to write his name for the rest of his life.
Exactly.
And nobody's going to, and who's standing or holding his hand while no, we're not doing that. So I went home and I got a container.
Right.
And I poked a bunch of holes in the top and the lid. And my daughter, I would always put beads in her hair. So I had these beads that I had, not the large ones, but the smaller ones to force him to pinch. And I got him and I pushed all of the beads through these holes to make sure that they were solid and open.
Yeah.
And then I shook it like a tambourine.
Yep. I love it.
And he runs over to me and he was like, oh, me, right? And I said, oh, you want to play? And he says, yes. And I said, okay. So I opened up the container, dumped the beads out and put the lid back on. And then I showed him what to do, which was to use to pick it up and push it through, because that way it forced that muscle so he can get that. So I did that for a little bit and he liked it, and he would come home every day and he would play this little crazy contraption of a game, right? But he would shake it at the end because his reward was the tambourine. He got to hear the tambourine. And the more beads you put in, the different sounds came out. And that's what it was. That's an example of a collective responsibility. I recognized that at school, they weren't never going to teach him that. So at home, I had to fill in the gap. If we can get more parents that can fill in those type of gaps, we can improve the learning experience for our child.
Right.
And at the same time, at home, if we take the time to figure out their learning style, we can send them to school with techniques that help them absorb what the teacher is saying. So there's so many different things that I feel like we can do as a collective.
Absolutely.
That if we just phone a friend, get excited, get motivated, get encouraged, and call your friends who has other 12-year-olds.
Right.
Or other 5-year-olds. What is the school doing for you? What are you struggling with? And how are you able to overcome that? These are the things that you do, because if you don't know how to cook, you're going to send your kids to your mom because you survived her cooking. So you're going to be like, can you help me? Same for math, science, and all those things. If you have somebody in your camp who has a skill set you don't have, you send your children that direction. And that's what makes things a whole lot better for everyone.
Yeah. And that's what we mean when we say it takes a village, right? Because I know that I feel like I am talented in many areas, and there's many areas that I'm not so talented in. So luckily, we're very blessed in our neighborhood. We have several parents that are around the same age, and we all help each other out. Like one will fall and hurt their knee. I don't have to worry about it because I know that if they're over at the house, they're going to be taken care of. So it's less anxiety on me, knowing that I have people that I can lean on. But unfortunately, not everybody has that. So what happens when the school's not doing anything, the parents can't do anything? what happens to that child?
That is exactly my point. Because without that village, we've just lost a kid. They just fell off. They fell right below the level.
Yeah.
And now they are no longer, they're either not showing up at school or they're not interested in school. They're totally disconnected. So now they're not learning how to read. They're not learning how to do math. There's a lot of things they're missing, and then they're disconnected. So now we actually, you said that, and it was like, I seen an instantaneous break of the chains, because that's where the break of humanity comes into play, right? And that's where it says, nobody cared about me my whole little life. So why should I care about others? And now you are, if that person is more, they're looking for it, hurt people, right? A hurt child will go out and hurt another person, whether that's a child or an adult, because they want to be seen.
Exactly. And then you have kids, for example, that were sexually abused. They're taught that, in some cases, depending on who it is, they're taught that, hey, this is how you show you love someone. And it's not, but they're going on the example of whatever has been set for them. That's so much trauma, lots of trauma. That poor child is going to be in therapy. And I feel like everyone should be in therapy at one point, but I do
in therapy at this point.
I do feel like we have to give our children a fighting chance. And if we don't, then we're not going to break any generational traumas. We're not going to break those things. And we're just going to continue to make the same mistakes.
Yep, this is absolutely correct. And our mistakes cannot be their failure. We try to give them as much as we possibly can to get them started in their lives. And I recognize, as much as I would like to say I was a perfect parent, I was not.
Nobody
is. And at the end of the day, I was like, man, I remember the day I was like, they hit 18. I was like, oh, survived your mom. Oh my God, I think we're going to make it. Right. I was like, I thank you very much for the journey. It's been a pleasure working with you for this last 18 years, but now it's time for us to, you can make your own decisions at this point. Now, I didn't say get out, go away, things like that. What I said was, now you have to come to me and ask me questions on what your next step is going to be, instead of me coming to you and telling you what your next step is going to be. So that was the shift that happened. But at the same time, that shift had to happen within me too, because you cannot tell somebody they're an adult and then turn around and not consider them and just continue to treat them like they're 12. You can't do that. So
especially
I
when
did
they're
that.
like 40.
Do you have some experiences, Dee? No. I'm just asking.
No,
because I think I know some friends that's having some serious. No, yeah. So I get it for sure. There are some people out there for sure, because I'd be like, I don't have that as a challenge for myself, but I do know some people, and I'd be like, that's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I've really enjoyed our conversation. Tell us everything that our people need to know, where they can find you, everything.
Okay. So keeping your kids safe is very committed to the safety of each student that goes to school, whether that's on a yellow school bus, the childcare bus, the walkers, bikers, or the car riders. At the end of the day, child safety is more than just that, but that is a section which I reside, right? Because child safety is my business. TICS is the platform. Parents see the value, schools get the benefit. Everyone in this scenario wins. So if you want to contact me to learn more about keeping your kids safe and our KICS platform, contact us at 832-405-8036 is the phone number. You can also email us at info@kyksfirst.com. That is keepingyourkidssafefirst.com. So that is the way we do that. So I'm looking to meet a whole lot of your friends. I want to see and hear from all the parents. The parents who have never had this problem, the parents who are afraid of this problem, and the parents who have had this problem. I want to see and talk to all of you.
Right.
I'm interested in the elementary school principals, the ones who have had those issues,
Right.
but can't openly discuss it and are afraid of what can happen and understand the importance of child safety. Those are the people that I'm looking for.
I love it. I love it. And thank you for doing what it is that you do. We all need to do better. Oh, everybody needs to do better. So I really appreciate that.
I just want to say thank you for inviting me and allowing me to come and have a conversation with you and
Yeah.
share it with your viewers.
I love it.